All right, just wait for a few more people to get in here for our broadcast. Okay, if you own a law firm, you probably know this gap between intake activity and a sign retainer, and how sometimes marketing can feel like you just walked into a Las Vegas casino. And if your intake team is busy, conflict checks are slowing things down, and your console calendar looks full, but the sign retainer count is flat, this is for you. There's a moment that I see over and over again. It happens in meetings. Someone from your marketing agency pulls up a report, and traffic is up, impressions are up, calls are up, and then someone else is going to open up your practice management dashboard, and they're going to say something a little bit different. Collected fees are not moving the way they should. Accounts receivable is creeping, and you might be a little anxious about payroll. Yeah, the room gets pretty quiet then, because both things can be true. Activity can be up, and your law firm can still feel tight. The central question is not whether marketing is working. That question is too vague to be useful. The real question is, are we buying attention, or are we buying case fit that converts into single and signed retainers? Most firms are going to try to answer that question with a pile of proxy numbers. Clicks, cost per lead, call volume, form fills. And those numbers are not useless, but they're not the thing you manage a firm on. They are upstream signals. And when you treat upstream signals like outcomes, you end up paying for motion and arguing about interpretation. The friction point, well, it shows up inside intake, not inside the ad account. Intake triage starts getting weird. The phones ring, but the conversations are off. The intake team starts asking, are we taking more of these because they're not our people? And your consult scheduling becomes a game of Tetris, and then the consult show rate drops because the leads had low intent in the first place. Or the consult happens, but the consult to client conversion slips because the prospect is just shopping around, they're confused, or they're not even financially ready. Then you see it in the simplest operational place. Retainer sent versus retainer signed starts to widen. And when that happens, most firms do one or two things. They either blame intake or they blame marketing. The intake team is always going to say the leads are garbage. And marketing's always going to say the intake team is not following up. And both are partially right. The argument still goes nowhere because the firm is missing one shared object that both sides can respect. I call that shared object the retainer bridge. And the retainer bridge, it's not a report. It's not a dashboard screenshot. It's a decision rule the firm agrees to when they're evaluating marketing and intake together. And if you do not have a retainer bridge, you're just going to keep having the same meeting with different emotions. Because here's what's usually hiding underneath all of this. Many marketing agencies are going to optimize for what they can see and what they can influence quickly. That's going to be lead volume and cost per lead. And many lawyers, understandably, evaluate the business by what they feel, which is consult quality, sign retainer count, and whether the pipeline is calming down. Those two worlds are not automatically connected. They only connect when the firm forces that connection. And you can feel the absence of the retainer bridge when attribution gets fuzzy. Let's say a lead calls from your Google business profile, then later fills out a form on your website, and then they later come back via a branded search, and now you've got 3 platforms all claiming the same person. Your report's going to look great, but the sign retainer count does not match the story. Or the opposite actually could happen. The firm gets a few great matters and everyone relaxes, but no one can say where they came from with confidence. So the next budget decision is basically guesswork. Operationally, this is where leakage lives. Conflict checks are delayed, so the prospect cools off. Follow-up speed is inconsistent, so the firm loses the people who were actually ready to hire you. And intake triage is not aligned with case type fit, so the firm just spends time on consults that never had a chance. Then everyone just starts discounting fees to save a deal, which trains the market in the wrong direction and makes the next month feel even tighter financially. Don't do it. So let me make this concrete for you. Suppose your marketing agency is sending you 120 leads. Intake says 60% are bad fit leads. Another 20% never show up for the consult. And of the remaining, you sign a handful. So the agency is going to point to 120 and say volume is strong. Intake points to the bad fit lead volume percentage and says stop sending these people to us. And you're going to say that your sign retainer count is broken. Everyone is staring at different parts of the same pipeline. So the retainer bridge actually forces one conversation. It's what is the smallest set of numbers that connects marketing to revenue without pretending we can see everything. That usually starts with 3 operational truths. First, sign retainers are the only conversion event that matters for marketing evaluation. Not consults, not leads, sign retainers. Second, case fit is not a vibe. It's a measurable filler that shows up as a bad fit lead volume percentage and consult to client conversion. And third, intake source accuracy is no longer optional. If the source field is wrong, you're managing a business on fiction. So I'm not saying you need perfect tracking, by the way. I know attorneys love certainty and marketing rarely offers it. I'm saying you need a retainer bridge that is sturdy enough to hold budget decisions without turning every meeting into a debate club. I mean, here's the part that surprises most attorneys. The retainer bridge is often cheaper than the agency relationship you already have, and it's because it's mostly discipline. It's agreeing that the report you trust is the one that ties to sign retainer account and that you'll treat everything else as supporting evidence. As a quick sidebar to help you out, I'm going to put a checklist in the description below. It's for comparing your intake notes, your consult to client conversion, and retainer sent versus retainer signed, so you can see where your own bridge is breaking. But let's get back to that partner meeting first. Once you put the retainer bridge on the table, the tone changes. Instead of arguing about whether marketing is working, you start asking, are marketing source leads producing signed retainer at a rate that makes sense given our case type fit and our follow-up speed? If not, where's the break? And if the break is before the consult, you're looking at lead quality, bad fit lead volume percentage, and intake triage. But if the break is between the consult and the signed retainer, you're looking at consult to client conversion and how the offer is being framed, including whether the prospect understands the next step and your fee structure. And then if the break is after the signed retainer, you're looking at collections lag and accounts receivable behavior, which is a different operational problem that marketing cannot fix. So notice what I did there. I did not say change platforms. I didn't tell you to go chase a new channel. I didn't say, hey, publish more content. Those are activities. And your firm does not need more activity. You need leverage, which means choosing the constraints and putting measurements around it. And a lot of marketing vendor fatigue comes from paying for uncertainty. You're going to get a report that can be interpreted in multiple ways, and it leaves you asking to be patient. Meanwhile, the firm is making payroll decisions, hiring decisions, and partner comp decisions. Patience not really a strategy when the data is not tied to signed retainers. So here's like a high level recovery posture you can use without turning your office into a marketing lab. Go ahead, pick one revenue tied metric that you trust more than clicks. For many firms, it's going to be cost per signed retainer or qualified consults, but the point is that it must be connected to the retainer bridge. Then insist that intake source accuracy is maintained well enough that the metric is not a fairy tale. And finally, treat bad fit lead volume percentage as a first-class number, not an antidote, because it's the earliest warning that your marketing is buying the wrong attention. And I promise you, when you do that, you stop having arguments about marketing. You actually start having operational conversations about where the bridge is breaking and what the firm is willing to change. So if you're an attorney and you want more of this kind of thinking, be sure to like and subscribe. But before you do that, I want to leave you with this. Most law firms don't have a marketing problem. They have a translation problem. Marketing speaks in leads and platforms. And law firms live and die on signed retainers, case fit, and collected fees. The retainer bridge is simply the agreement to stop pretending those are separate conversations, even when the report looks comforting.